if all your Muta dies super fast before the Lurkers are out, you're just going to be in big trouble because he's just going to be able to march down and attack you, and you're not really going to have anything adequate to defend his Marines because Hydra Zergling is pretty terrible against a Marine medic army type composition. So you can see here he's moving out with his Marines. So this is the sort of timing you'd see. He's moving out with a pretty large force. This is the timing you'd see a lot of times if Terran is going for 4 barracks and they're going to be doing a build where they try to deny your third. But this guy only has 1 base, so this is just like a super late all-in. So if Terran really can move out with a large force like this, you can maybe take a look, see if you can backstab, but chances are you're usually going to want to save your third, so you're going to have to fight this force out in the open. So the way you'd fight it normally is with Muta Ling. And you can see here, this was really bad actually. I saw his force moving out, but I totally missed where it went. And it turns out he actually went down to my third, and I totally missed this. So I'm gonna lose my third. So don't do this, guys. Pay a little more attention than I did here, and don't let Terran just walk down to your third and kill it. On the plus side, I do stop him from expanding briefly, but this is just, you'll see this is quite sloppy here in a sec. But as I was saying, you want to keep the Mutas alive for at least some measure of time, so that you can adequately defend against, or so that you can have time to get Lurkers out. And that's what you can see here. I'm just stalling for time with my Mutas, so I have time to get Lurkers out. And you can see against these large groups of Marines, Mutas are really weak. They're okay with Muta Ling support, but now I've got my Lurker so I can defend. But I totally don't pay attention, and he's already down here killing my third. So even by the time I run over, I'm just not going to have a chance to be able to do anything to stop it. He's going to be able to kill this third base. And I forgot to burrow my Lurkers here. Like, this is the other thing you should always do, and I don't know if you saw, but I did do it. I sent 2 Hydras over and made them into Lurkers, but I was playing super sloppy and didn't pay attention, and I didn't burrow the Lurkers. So with those 2 Lurkers, the reason you send those first 2 Lurkers over to that expansion is so that you have some defense there. If Terran does in fact try to rush to that expansion, you can defend it. And a lot of times, destination, you can't quite do this, but a lot of times on maps you'll be able to take a third base that has a ramp. So what you do is you put 2 Lurkers just above the ramp, and that makes it almost impossible for Terran to go and attack that third base. The reason for that being, if they try to go up that ramp, the Marines are all going to funnel in one tight line, and each shot of the Lurkers is going to kill every Marine, and there's just no efficient way for Terran to get up until they have tanks. But if they're doing a build to pressure your third base before Lurkers are finished, they're not going to have tanks that fast. It just doesn't work out. So at this point, he killed my third, which would be bad for me. But at the same time, he hasn't expanded. A normal Terran playing standard 1 Rax fast expand would already have a second base, so it'd be a totally different scenario. But in this case, I've already done damage. This is sort of how you fight a Zerg. You run the Lurkers in first so that they take the initial hits, and then as you're burrowing them, you run the Lings in. Usually what Terran will do is they'll be retreating as soon as you burrow the Lurks. So if they retreat, once they're outside the range of your Lurkers, make sure you call your Zerglings off. Otherwise, they're just going to get wasted and die, because the Marines will back up just out of range of your Lurkers and then proceed to kill all your Zerglings, which are only really efficient with the Lurker support. And you can see here, as soon as I finished making Lurkers, I want to get my Queen's Nest. Like, I want to make my first round of Lurkers, and then I want to get my Queen's Nest and tech the Hive. And the reason you want Hive really fast is for Defilers. Defilers are key in this matchup. The reason what you use them for is Dark Swarm, and later on you can also get Plague, which can be really useful. But use them for Dark Swarm, which is invaluable for stopping their first attacks. And what you do, how Dark Swarm works, is it casts this orange cloud, and anything under that orange cloud doesn't get hit by ranged attacks. It makes the way it technically works is it makes the ranged attacks fall 1 matrix short, so nothing hits the target, so they all miss. The only thing that can hurt you under it is possibly tank fire, because tank fire does splash damage, so a little bit of that splash damage can hurt you under swarm. But so what you do is you start to run in with your army first. You don't cast swarm first. You start to run with your army first. Then as you're running in and starting to attack, you cast the swarm over your army. The reason you don't pre-cast the swarm is if you pre-cast so your army can run in and is all safe as it runs in, the Terran sees your swarm and is like, oh, I need to get out of here, so he backs away and you just wasted a dark swarm, and your Defiler will usually get irradiated. So you have to move your units into the line of fire first, start letting them get attacked a little bit, then throw down the swarm. That way Terran has to run back, and when they're running back, their medics aren't healing, and it's easy to pick off Marines and various things like that. And then once you have Swarm, you just have all kinds of attacking potential. You can just kind of attack wherever you want, defend however you need to. And then as soon as your Defilers are out and you've got Swarm, you want to go ahead and take a 4th base, preferably a base with gas. So then you'll be on 4 gas, at which point, when you have 4 gas, it's pretty stable to do Ultralisks. So you can go ahead and add your Ultralisk Cavern and switch over to the endgame composition of Ultra Ling Defiler. And Ultras are super effective and really useful in this matchup because they just tank so much damage. You kind of run in with your Ultralisk first, again, so they take the damage, because they're not the primary damage dealers. The Lings are the primary damage dealers because of how ridiculously fast they attack once you have Adrenal Glands, their speed attack upgrade. So you run in with the Ultralisk first, they tank damage, the Marines just keep shooting the Ultralisk, and then you flank from all sides from the Lings, and it just decimates the army, and if you have Dark Swarm, it just gets even more ridiculous. The reason you don't want to go Ultralisk before Dark Swarm usually is that because you have to tech to Hive and such things, if you try to go to Ultralisk before Defilers, Terran's first push is going to kill you, because A, you're spending money on Hive and all that stuff, and on top of that, you're not going to have, like, if you're waiting for Ultralisks, you're not going to have the tech out you need to stop that army, because if you want to have enough money to make Ultralisks, you're not going to be able to make very many Lurkers at all, so you just won't be able to stop the first attack if you go straight to Ultralisks. So it's Defilers, so Terran will come out, try to push you back to your base and kill you. Dark Swarm will come out, you'll be able to push Terran back and regain map control, at which point you can take your 4th, get your 4th gas, and then proceed to switch to Ultra Ling Defiler. And that's pretty much the matchup in a nutshell. It goes, you start off with the 3-hatch Muta build I talked about, and then from there, you use Mutalisks to harass, and while harassing with those Mutalisks, you take your 3rd base and start making Lurkers. And then once you have the Lurkers out, you can try to contain Terran if you did a really effective Mutalisk harass, or if it wasn't quite as effective, just average, you will need to just use your Lurkers to defend and slow Terran, and just keep walking back, keep him from getting to your base too fast. Then Defilers come out, you can use Defilers to push Terran back, and once Terran is back and you have some map control, you can go ahead and get your 4th base and your 4th gas, at which point you can tech to Ultras, and then you're in the late game where you just use Ultra Ling Defiler and go around fighting the Terran. And at this point, if you've made it to this